We obviously need to monitor an awful lot in this country, not least members of staff at some preschool, which I think is called the Genesis School.
Right.
Genesis Preschool in Hull. We've got the picture, I think, of what was put up. There was a book which featured men in bondage wear. The book was shown to 4-year-olds in a preschool, and they're wearing sort of what can only be described as leather and studs, the sort of thing you'd see in Old Compton Street of a Friday night. And there's a flag behind them going "Grandad's Pride," which you can't quite see in that picture, I don't think. But it is absolutely, utterly astonishing that somebody thinks that, one, it's a good idea to write a book like this for children, and two, it's a good idea to put it out there and show it to children in a nursery.
It's so confusing for
4.
kids. You know, I've actually leafed through this book a while ago and was pretty horrified about a lot of the content, which is, you know, it's this idea of normalising what is essentially adult fetish for little children.
Right.
It's got no space.
I mean, what's next? You know,
they don't
let's
need
do a
to
tour
know
of
this.
Soho with the kids, a school trip to Soho. We'll take them into the fetish clubs. We'll take them into perhaps the sex shops, and maybe they can buy a souvenir to bring home to Mummy and Daddy. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Some latex,
I got a friend with a son, and they've been taught such things in schools. And another little boy came up to her son and said, "Oh, you know, will you be my boyfriend?" And they're about, 5, 6 years old. He doesn't know what he's talking about, but this one particular child has very church-going parents, and they were horrified.
Yeah.
It's just confusing for kids. Kids don't even know what sex is at that age.
No.
They don't need to know what sexuality
happily,
is.
they should not know, because
Well,
they don't need to know.
It's grim. It's actually quite grim.
But as
and
I
I
said
don't
to Julia,
understand.
what sort of people are pushing this? Who is saying that this is a good thing for children?
But this is what I was going to ask you. Why is it that certain members of these communities seem so obsessed about getting their mitts on the kids?
Yeah.
Leave the kids out of it. By all means, you can spread your PR, your, happy, whatever it is, your pride flags, your festivals, your marches. Do it in the plus 18 community. But why are they so eager to get into their heads, into the heads of kids, to get access to children, little children? It's messed up.
Yeah, it is. It's not right. And luckily, I think the book has now been withdrawn from use. But a member of staff has apparently has defended the image, arguing the children would not understand the erotic and sexualised depictions. What?
Then why show it? But then why show it? If they don't understand it, why you don't give a kid, complex algebra to solve at the age of 5, so why are you giving them lessons that will otherwise be more age-appropriate later?
One parent said this: "We identified 2 images of men who are partially naked in leather bondage gear. One has a leather codpiece moulded tightly around his crotch and a studded dog collar around his neck and knee-high boots. My main and obvious concern is that children have been exposed to at least 2 age-inappropriate sexual or erotic images of a man in what can only be reasonably described as bondage and fetish gear."
And you know what? As typical of a lot of these places...
But don't bring anything like a bar of chocolate to school.
Oh, don't do that.
Don't, because we'll arrest you for that. Because you can't bring...
Don't go outside if it's spitting.
No.
If it's spitting.
Don't bring any crisps
Don't go to the playground. Watch out for the seagulls.
Yeah, exactly right.
I mean, typical for a lot of these, very woke institutions that go down this road. We've asked them, by the way, for comment.
Genesis
and they have
Preschool, yes.
They have not responded yet.
Yeah.
But they need to be accountable to parents.
Do you think that's the for the spokesman dressed in bondage gear to come on and go, there's nothing wrong with this, we wear it every day to school?
It reminds me of that thing that went in the libraries, that sort of rainbow hairy creature with the sex toy on it.
Oh, yes.
I don't know what you can say at this time in the morning.
Not much.
It goes into a kindergarten. I don't even know how to say it on a breakfast show.
Well, you can't. Because there's no need for it. There will be families listening, and I'm sorry if we've offended anybody, but it is actually a massive problem in schools. My school, where my kids go, or where they used to go, because they don't go there anymore, I was amazed to find that every corner you went down, every corridor you went down, there was a notice board, and on every notice board there was a poster for Stonewall. Nothing else.
But why? I don't understand. The other thing is, and people don't talk about this, but when people are going through their teenage years, that's when they're most impressionable. That's when they're really trying to form their characters.
Yes.
That is when they're having those internalised conversations about gender, about sexuality. But children are also very prone to following trends and fashions.
Yeah.
And we've got to the stage now where essentially questioning your gender is the latest in thing to do. It's not, Nike Airs.
No.
It's, I now identify as a boy or a girl or whatever. And this is actually basically promoting and advertising a mental health condition.
And girls are doing it an awful lot. And have you noticed as well, I don't know if you've noticed this lately, but in Hollywood, an awful lot of Hollywood stars have got children who are transgender.
Right, they adopt them, they snatch them out of some African orphanage, stick them in the opposite sex clothing, and then say, look at me, I'm going to shower myself with moral rectitude. It's sick.
Here's my virtue signalling child. It's unbelievable.